Good evening with the sports world. I'm Anne-Marie Burke, and we begin with cricket, where the Bangladesh drew first blood against the West Indies as they beat the regional side by 5 wickets in the Dhaka day-nighter. The Windies batted first and made a below-par 195 for 9 as Shea Hope scored with 43 and Kemo Paul had 36. And Bangladesh easily chased down that target as they reached 196 for 5, with Mushfiqur Rahim top scoring with 55. Well, the Barbados Pride lost to the Leeward Island Hurricanes by 34 runs in the opening game of the West Indies Championship first-class match at the 3Ws Oval. Scores from day 4, the Leewards 252 and 165, Barbados Pride 248 and 135. In St. Lucia, Ghana Jaguars celebrated a 125-run victory over the Windward Island Volcanoes. Scores in that match, the Jaguars 224 and 310 for 4, the Volcanoes 187 and 222. Well, Canada's Yves Sikwabo claimed a hat-trick of wins in the Run Barbados series as he claimed victory this morning in the half marathon after winning the event on Friday's Fun Mile and yesterday's 10K. This morning, it was also a repeat win for Paul Smits of Germany, who retained his title in the marathon. On the women's end of things, Sarah Inglis set a Canadian sweep in the half marathon, while Frances Fanja Felix ran away for her first ever Barbados marathon. Here's a look at both races. 5 a.m. on the dot, the half marathon and marathon events ran off as the last 2 races of this year's Run Barbados weekend. The runners setting out from the Esplanade in Bay Street. Let's focus on the half marathon first, where the leader was Colombian Santiago Zerda, who looked very confident as he led the pack by at least 200 meters. Just past the halfway mark, coming downhill by the power plant on Spring Garden, and Zerda still held his form. A look at his watch, checking to see if he was on his game plan. But in the distance was the Canadian Yves Sikwabo. By Harbour Road, the Canadian was pushing now, as Zerda was full in his sights, the lead being cut down stride for stride. So by the time the runners approached Pelican, Sikwabo, who had already claimed the Friday's Fun Mile and yesterday's 10K, was gunning to claim the half marathon title too. And he made his move, taking out Zerda on the inside. The battle was on. Zerda looked to be feeling the pressure now, but Sikwabo a lot more comfortable, and it was a done deal. Capping off a masterful weekend of victories, his 3rd time crossing the line ahead of all other runners, the Fun Mile, the 10K, and now the half marathon, Yves Sikwabo in a time of 1 hour, 8 minutes, 39 seconds, and comfortably so. And here comes Santiago Zerda, a commendable 2nd place, his time 1 hour, 8 minutes, 55 seconds. So while the half marathon was done and dusted, the marathon runners were still at it, and the leader in this one is no stranger to the Bajan roads. Last year's winner Paul Smits of Germany, who we caught up with along the St. James stretch of Highway 2A. With almost half the marathon conquered, he was en route to the finish in Bay Street, and might I add, very unchallenged. Skipping ahead to about 5 kilometers to go along the Spring Garden Highway, he seemed to be tearing a bit, but still very much in control. We're on Hink Street now, and Smits looked a bit more revived and picked up the pace, still the man in charge. By the boardwalk, runners were being lapped as victory was getting nearer and nearer. And it's done, yet again. Paul Smits is taking the marathon title back to Germany with him, 2nd year in a row, exhausted, but definitely a champion, stopping the clock at 2 hours, 30 minutes, 58 seconds. 2nd place went to Great Britain's Craig Pillsbury in 2 hours, 40 minutes, 10 seconds, and he's happy. And in 3rd, another German, Helmut Nosner, his time 2 hours, 52 minutes, 35 seconds. And the First Lady across the line, Fanja Felix of France, conquering the marathon in 3 hours, 6 minutes, and 43 seconds. The Run Barbados weekend is officially a wrap. And it was a Canadian domination in the men and women's 10K sponsored by Columbia Emeralds International, as it belonged to Yves Sikwabo and Natasha Wodak, who conquered the streets of Bridgetown in the race, which was also part of the Run Barbados weekend. On the stroke of 5 p.m., the over 320 competitors set out from the Bay Street Esplanade to conquer 10 kilometers. And the early pace setter was Australia's Michael Marantelli, who was at the forefront of a leading pack, including Barbadian Matthew Wright and Canadians Yves Sikowebo and Chris Balestrini. Down to Bay Street, these were the four to watch. Over the swing bridge, and it was now really evenly poised, but taking the turn, Marantelli again surged ahead, the pace picking up steadily along Wharf Road, and it's still anyone's favour. But by the time they got to Pelican, the pace was getting too hot for Wright, and he started to lose ground. The pace like fire, perhaps the cool conditions in the runner's favour. And by the time they reached the Port Authority, four were now definitely three. Marantelli, Sikowebo over his shoulder, and Balestrini tracking close behind. Approaching the halfway mark now, we're along the Spring Garden Highway just outside Brandon's, and the runners were even having time to chat with each other, but the pace was not eased off. We're at the halfway mark, and this is where the race went into overdrive. Marantelli again taking control, but could he keep it there as Sikowebo was about to change another gear? And it was with just about 3 kilometers to go that gear was engaged. The location outside Kensington. He took one glance over his shoulder, and that's all he wrote. On to Cheapside, and he was moving. The Canadian put in some serious distance between himself and the Aussie. Parliament Buildings, he was all alone. This race was pretty much a wrap. Back to Bay Street, it's Sikowebo and the clock. So it's all about time. He sprints for home, the cameras flashing, the crowd cheering, the 10K champion, Yves Sikowebo, in a time of 31 minutes, 30 seconds. Marantelli holds on for that second spot. His time, 31 minutes, 46 seconds, and in third, a very elated Chris Balestrini in 32 minutes, 43 seconds. First Bajan home was Matthew Wright, a well-run fourth place, but right behind him, the woman of the moment, Canada's Natasha Wodak, who retained her title from last year. The time, 34 minutes, 06 seconds. With all reason to celebrate, and here's what both winners had to say.
The race was good. It was good. It's just the rain made it difficult. It's slippery, but I think overall it went very fine, and it's the same time that I expected to run into these conditions.
It was cooler this year, so that was really nice. We got that rain right before we started, so it was good. And then there was like a really mysterious patch of dry road out between like 4 and 5K. There was no water on it. I don't understand. So you're able to get going quite quick, which was nice.
Now to cricket, the BDF Sports program picked up the biggest victory of the penultimate day of the penultimate series, that is, of the BCLA Elite Division with a 206-run win over Spartan at Paragon. Scores: the BDF 214 and 194-6 declared. Spartan 126 and 72. Wildy defeated Gladiola at home by 24 runs after scoring 86 for 8 declared and 138. Gladiola made 150 and 50 all out. Maple beat the Barbados Youth by 10 wickets at Lester Vaughan. Scores there: the U52 and 170. Maple 195 and 29 without loss. At Darrell's Road, Wanderers made 327 for 5 declared and 86 for 4. Empire 243 and 137 for 7 for a tame draw. And at Bayfield, St. Catherine, they made 114 and 247, and UW 163 and 142 for 8 for a draw as well.